Hey everyone, what you can see here is my African dwarf frog setup. And in this video I'm going to share some facts and suggestions on how to take care of them should you choose them as your pets. This is going to be my first longish commentary compared to my other ones, and I hope this will be helpful to you. If you have any questions, corrections, points of discussion, or if I've missed anything important, please share it below in the comments. I'd be more than happy to talk with you and learn from you. Also, in the description, I will include a table of contents and key points for your reference. So this tank is 2.5 gallons, and I have 2 African dwarf frogs. It's a good rule of thumb to have at least a gallon for each African dwarf frog that you have. It is safer to have a lid for your tank because they can really be escape artists. As you can see, I can remove this lid for whatever purpose, and this flap here is for food. I have a hang filter. Sometimes that causes controversy amongst critter keepers because frogs, newts, small animals, whatever, can get in the slot here and get stuck. But I've watched my frogs, and so far they just don't really even bother with that area of the tank. So far so good. But if you are concerned, or if your frog is going in that general direction, you could try investing in some sort of internal filter. But please do stay away from bubble filters, aeration, those things, because they cause a lot of disturbance in the water, and the vibrations really stress out the frogs. And I do recommend to have a filter because it definitely helps the tank stay clean. At the back, you can see that I have this sinking thermometer. It's really good to have because then you can keep track of your water temperature to see if it's in a good range. For these guys, you really want to keep between 74 to 80 Fahrenheit. They are from Africa, Central Africa, in the Congo region, subtropical, tropical, and they don't really go well with cold water, which is why when you acclimate them, you want to use lukewarm water. So nothing too cold and definitely nothing too warm or hot. And for this size tank, I think every time I clean it, I'm probably going to change about this much. So like 20%. I guess it would vary for whatever size tank you have, but I think 20 seems to be a reasonable percentage to change every time. Sometimes these African dwarf frogs are also referred to as African dwarf clawed frogs because they do indeed have little claws on their feet. I don't know about their arms, but you might be able to make out little black toenails. But sometimes you won't be able to see them because it really depends on the substrate that you have, the decorations. Their little nails can easily wear off. And I don't know if they grow back or not. They definitely should not be confused with African clawed frogs, however, because African clawed frogs are, well, they are also aquatic frogs, but they grow a lot bigger, and I'll talk more about the differences later. But yeah, this type of frog is actually pretty much all aquatic, like 99% of the time. They will go up to the surface for air, and that is why it's very important. Oh, it's going to do that right now. It's just swimming. Yeah, it does go up for air, and it's very important not to have a tank that is too tall because there's only a certain height that you want to keep at, and this is about 7 to 8 inches, sorry. No more than 1 foot in height because these guys aren't really the best swimmers, and they just, it's better to have more length than width, width than height, sorry. And it's also good to consider when scaping your tank to have different heights in your decor so that your frogs can get to the surface from different points. Just getting a close-up. Yeah, I'm almost sure that these here are adults already and that they're both female, since males are supposed to have whitish bumps behind their forearms, and these don't, so probably female. There are a couple of other identifying features, but that's one thing that I use. So yeah, these are about 2 to 2.5 inches long when stretched out, and they don't really get that much bigger. Earlier, one of them was shedding. Usually they shed their skin and every 2 to 3 weeks, and they'll eat their shed skin. If they don't, please remove it, because as it does with food, it can just like foul up the water. They will rub themselves against various surfaces to just help quicken the shedding process. And yeah, you'll see that I have 4 different types of plants. Over here I have the Anubias nana. I don't know what this one and that one is. I do have some Java moss over here. They really like it. These broadleafed plants are great because it provides a lot of hiding space, wiggle space for them to play in or rest in, whatever. I've got this fake mushroom thing. Oh, always use aquarium-friendly decorations. If you put random things in there that aren't meant to be, they could let out coloring and weird chemicals that are probably unhealthy for your critters and stress them out. Frogs are especially sensitive. I'm saying this again. Their skin is very absorby, and you want to treat them well. You want to have good water. So, yeah. I don't have gravel here. You actually don't need any, but it's kind of nice to emulate their natural conditions, although I'm sure it looks a bit different, but I try. Gravel should not be too small, because if it's too small, these frogs will ingest them and get constipated and suffer from impaction. If they're too large, the frogs can get crushed if they wiggle underneath. So medium-sized is good. If your frogs do get constipated, feed them soft foods. It's supposedly going to help them get their bits out of the system. And apparently these little guys make sounds, but I haven't heard anything so far. Maybe because they're female, since males they tend to be more vocal. I had a African clawed frog a couple of years ago, and he did sing at night. On a side note, African clawed frogs and African dwarf frogs can be easily mistaken for each other, especially when they're little. But a good telltale sign is whether or not the frog has webbed fingers. As you can see, this is a real African dwarf frog because it has webs on its frontal limbs, both sets of limbs. Okay. Also, another characteristic that you could look at is the snout. African dwarf frogs tend to have a pointier snout, and another thing is that they really are just way smaller than African clawed frogs. These ones, 2 inches, 2.5, and African clawed frogs go from 3 to 4, and they tend to be a lot pudgier. You can probably just look this stuff up online if you're really curious about the difference. On the side, you can see their food. I have Zoo-Med aquatic and tadpole food, aquatic frog and tadpole food, and they come in small sinking pellets like this, and they're made especially for frogs. Don't feed frogs fish food. It just doesn't have the right nutrients, and you can treat your frogs with like brine shrimp, bloodworms, tubifex on occasion, but try not to feed them too much because I heard it causes like stomach problems or something like that, and it also causes obesity. Feed your frogs generally at the same time every day. For me, I feed them twice, once in the morning and once in the evening. I tend to feed them like in the front of the tank, so I can see that the food is being eaten, and if the pebbles are in the way, I'll gently move them away with this chopstick here. And yeah, they're really horrible at finding their food sometimes. I think their eyesight is really bad, but they rely on their smell. If their food isn't eaten within like 30 minutes to an hour, you should probably remove it and try again. Maybe like 2-3 hours later. Just this way you can maintain good water quality. So yeah, if you want to get them tank mates, make sure you get tank mates that are not going to eat them or be eaten, because 2 days ago I got them shrimps, and they were small cherry shrimps and ghost shrimps, and they were just gone because they were bite-sized, and why am I not surprised? But anyway, yeah, cichlids, crayfish, large frogs, newts, things like that, just no. They will pick on these little, they're very timid creatures, these dwarf frogs, and they are kind of squishy, and they could be a really tasty meal for whatever, anything that's bigger than them, so you really want to think carefully when you're trying to get them tank mates. Chinese algae eaters, as long as they're not too big, are great. Autos are also great. They'll help clean. Actually, see, I think those are algae spots on my Anubias plant. I'm going to try and get an algae eater this weekend. So yeah, when you choose your frogs at the store, make sure that they are healthy and active. They should be swimming away like crazy when the store staff is trying to fish them out for you. And yeah, if your frog, make sure that if you get like two, that they're around the same size, so one doesn't like pick on the other one or like try to eat it. They are carnivorous. So yeah, if your frog gets sick, ask someone who knows about this stuff, or look up the symptoms online, see what you can do. I know frogs can get like red leg from parasites. It certainly lives up to the name and gets really ugly. Same with fungal infections. Separate your frogs so the sick one won't get the other ones sick. If your frog boats up like a balloon, it's got dropsy or something like that, for a number of possible reasons, like bad diet, something it ate, bacteria. Just check the water quality, make sure your frogs aren't stressed, and if you detect their problems early enough, you've got a higher chance of making them better. At any rate, you should really consult a specialist that's experienced for the best opinion, as you should for any pets that you have. Yeah, that's about it.